Crystal Oath, Forbidden Hearts. Discover the allure of this Montreal artwork, designed as stunning decor or for peaceful contemplation. If you wish, let the romantic story come alive while you admire it. Chapter 1. Montreal doesn't appear on any map. That was the first thing they told Isabella of Valmont when the private jet sliced through the last veil of clouds and the Swiss Alps unfolded below like a kingdom carved from crystal, jagged blue peaks, slopes that looked chiseled from marble, hidden lakes gleaming like buried mirrors. The sky held that almost metallic hue of northern winters, where the light seemed to rise from the snow itself rather than the sun. Remember, her mother had said back at the hangar, without touching her, without mussing her coat here, "You're not just Isabella, you're..." In the window's reflection, the princess stared back at her own impeccable image. Low chignon, small pearls, white coat buttoned to the throat, the principality's crest brooch pinned over her heart. Isabella held her own gaze for a few seconds, wondering for the 1000th time which of the two was more real, the girl who slept in wool socks with history notes under her pillow, or the diplomatically flawless figure who greeted cameras with rehearsed angles. The jet banked, and she finally saw it, the Academy of Montreal, nestled on a plateau ringed by mountains, as if someone had hollowed out the heart of the peak to build a small city of stone, glass, and black slate roofs. No visible roads led there, just a helipad and a slender line that might have been a private funeral. The main buildings formed an elegant U, the grand hall with its Gothic windows, the chapel, a miniature cathedral, the residence block with wrought-iron balconies. Beyond, like notes in a perfect ledger, lay the private ski slope, the transparent indoor pool, the domed greenhouse, and all around, only forest, rock, and snow. The captain's voice crackled over the speakers, but Isabella wasn't listening anymore. No matter how many times they explained that Montreal was the ideal setting for future rulers to get to know one another, it still felt like an exquisitely gilded cage to her. Luxurious? Yes. Picture postcard views. But a cage nonetheless. As the plane descended, that familiar tug hit her stomach, the one that always came before any major shift. It wasn't fear. It was the sharp awareness that every step left a trace. Every gesture could be spun into a political statement, even if she was just choosing between tea or coffee. Valmont wasn't a big country. It was a principality wedged between older nations and more ambitious territories, held together by treaties as delicate as blown glass. Her great-grandfather had survived 2 wars by switching sides at just the right moment. Her grandfather, by signing trade deals with whoever it took. Her father had inherited that precarious balance and shored it up with the one thing old treaties couldn't guarantee anymore: marriages, and perfect smiles. Betrothed, Isabella had read at 8 years old, hidden in the library when an aide left behind a magazine showing her photo hand in hand with a blonde boy she barely remembered. The little Princess of Valmont, and Ladavius Crown Prince heir, future symbols of stability in Eastern Europe. No one had asked if she wanted to be a symbol, or if she even liked the boy. Now, as the plane touched down with a gentle shudder, she thought of him, Prince Marco of Litvia. They'd met only a handful of times at official receptions, always surrounded by adults, smiling like they were watching a particularly promising experiment. Marco was polite, proper, as camera-conscious as she was. They exchanged flawless small-talk comments on climate agendas, the role of youth in politics. There had never been an awkward flutter between them, a loaded silence, an unexpected laugh. Maybe, Isabella thought, that's what a state marriage demanded, the absence of surprises. The cabin door opened, and mountain air rushed in sharp, clean, scented with pine and fresh snow. Isabella breathed it deeply, almost fiercely, like water after a parched day. Her security detail moved first, aides behind. The usual choreography, her in the center, like the most precious, fragile artifact in a museum. On the tarmac waited a small reception, a tall woman in a gray coat and black gloves, 2 students in navy uniforms, and a man who, despite the cold, wore only a fitted blazer, scarf, and calculated smile. "Your Highness," the woman greeted, inclining her head just so. "Welcome to the Academy of Mont. It's an honor to have you with us." Isabella replied with the precise nod drilled into her for mid-protocol occasions. Deferential but not submissive. Approachable but not familiar. "The honor is mine, Doctor," she said, her voice clear and steady. "I've heard so much about Mont. We hope to live up to expectations." Cut in the scarf man, stepping forward half a pace. "Victor Hansen, head of international relations here. Your father and I have collaborated on several Brussels initiatives, of course." Isabella recalled a leaked email she'd glimpsed in her father's office. Victor Hansen, consultant, mediator, expert in elite ecosystems, his own resume's words. This man wasn't just staff, he was one of the invisible architects of the place. "You'll find our discretion is top-notch," he added, gesturing with a smile to the nearly empty perimeter. Guards at a respectful distance. Security cameras subtly embedded in light poles. No press, no paparazzi here. Just accountability. The word hung in the frosty air like hoarfrost. Accountability. Isabella had heard it so often, it had almost lost meaning. It was elastic justification for why she couldn't study comparative literature in Paris, couldn't hit the movies alone with friends, couldn't post a sneakers pic on her private socials. Accountability was diplomacy's polite way of saying, you don't fully belong to yourself. As they escorted her to the main building, Isabella scanned her surroundings. Snow crunched underfoot, but paths were meticulously cleared. In the distance, other students, some uniformed, others in pro-grade ski gear, high-end headphones, wristbands, flashing country crests she knew by heart. Ardell's Crown, Lidavius Falcon, Boreal Consortiums, Starred Circle. Too many flags in too small a space. The air hummed with unspoken implications. Every so often, one would glance up and size her up. Isabella felt the silent assessment in their stares. Not Isabella. Not the girl in the white coat who looks a bit tired. Just the piece on the board. Director Moser spoke as they walked at Montrevel. We prioritize 3 pillars: academic excellence, strategic preparation, and cohesion. Our students don't just study, they learn to negotiate, anticipate crises, lead in complex scenarios. And to ski, Victor added with a hint of humor. Diplomacy closes as often on the slopes as in conference rooms. Isabella offered a courteous smile. The main building enveloped her in a wave of warmth and polished wood. The lobby boasted polished stone floors, vaulted ceilings with exposed beams, a wrought iron staircase splitting toward the residences. Walls held oil portraits of past generations, stern young faces in outdated uniforms, surnames now dominating headlines. She wondered if hers would end up on one. They led her to her suite. Sweet, she thought, nearly laughing. It dwarfed many capital city apartments. King bed, desk facing a snow-swept slope window. A small sitting room with gray velvet sofa and electric fireplace. Everything orderly, understated luxuries, the kind that whispers, never shouts. On the coffee table sat a folder emblazoned with Montrevel's crest. Inside, printed schedule, campus map, handwritten note. We hope you feel at home. Directorate, Isabella set it aside. She unbuttoned her coat slowly, each one a small surrender to fatigue. At the window, beyond manicured gardens, a band of forests climbed the mountain into mist. The private slope veered left a perfect white ribbon, flagged in red. She'd grown up skiing, like most in her region, but rarely without escort. She undid her chignon, letting chestnut hair tumble over her shoulders. The room's silence was thick. At the palace, she was never truly alone, always footsteps in halls. Aid murmurs, doors opening and closing like foreign breaths. Here, isolation had a sharper edge, more perilous. Montrevel stayed off tourist maps, but it marked every invisible one that mattered. Here, alliances wove, loyalties tested, egos measured. For months each year, Europe's most powerful families' heirs breathed the same air, shared classrooms, eyed the same frozen horizon. And rumor had it, mistakes happened here too. Errors the Academy's ironclad discretion kept from headlines, but one scarring European politics years later. A snub today, a budget veto tomorrow. A botched romance now, a stalled treaty later. The last thing she needed was a mistake. Her aide Lucy knocked from the adjoining room. "Your Highness, luggage is unpacked. Shall I lay out dinner attire?" Isabella closed her eyes briefly. She wanted to say no, nothing. Just throw on an oversized sweater and watch snow fall. But schedules didn't pause for whims. "The navy blue dress," she replied. "Long sleeves, high neck. Safety, neutrality, impeccability." Lucy nodded and vanished. The welcome dinner was a masterclass in choreography. Montrevel's grand hall glowed under dozens of chandeliers, round tables arranged like a diplomatic solar system. No enemy nations adjacent, no historic rivalries too close. Isabella took center seat at the head table beside Director Moser, facing a cluster of faces from headlines. Ardel's crown princess with her severe expression, the Norwegian energy heir's easy grin. A future prime minister already dubbed her generation's brightest star in profiles. Isabella spoke her usual lines: sustainable energy, regional cooperation, education. She knew how to listen, ask the right questions, laugh on cue. The room's murmur flowed like a calm river, dotted with laughs and clinking glasses. One chair, 2 tables over, stayed empty. "Who's missing?" she murmured during the second course. Moser followed her gaze, lips thinning slightly. "Mr. Alexander son of Sergei Petroviud. Know the name." Isabella knew it like a weather pattern she'd never seen but felt in her forecasts. Petrov, conglomerate, banks, refineries, shipping, hotel chains. In her father's meetings, the name evoked respect laced with wariness. "We'll see which way Petrov swings next decade," a minister had said, like plotting a comet's path. "He's our alpine ski team captain," Moser added. "Very talented. Occasionally, flexible with schedules." Isabella arched a brow faintly. "I thought punctuality was mandatory here." "It is," Moser replied. "But Montrevel trains future leaders, not soldiers. Some need to test boundaries before respecting them." The tone held diplomatic poise, but Isabella caught the irritation's edge. She glanced at the empty seat. A name, an absent occupant, nothing more. She didn't see him arrive, just sensed the room's murmur shift texture, like wind rippling wheat. Heads turned. A chair scraped, jarring the harmony for a beat. Isabella looked up as he slid into place, unhurried, as if the dinner had waited for him. Alexander Petrov wasn't what she'd pictured. She'd imagined someone stiffer, more formula air sculpted from ice, with the studied chill of men closing Asian deals at 3 a.m. But this young man slouched into the chair with deliberate casual elegance. Montrevel's uniform navy blazer, white shirt, academy-crested tie hugged him like an improvised riff in a classical score. Top shirt button undone. Tie loosened, just so. Dark hair, a touch too long for rags. Still damp, maybe from melting snow. No apology. No nod to Moser, who eyed him with that adult mix of exasperation and resignation for brilliant troublemakers. He simply took his water glass, sipped, and joined his table's chat like he'd been there all along. Isabella looked away. She'd learned long ago that staring at a high-stakes player could signal interest. And here, every move counted. Still, a part of her, the part without crests pinned to her chest, felt curiosity stir. Alexander Pet. She forgot him, soon after, swept into talks, toasts, in Postdiener brought a Russian student's flawless, almost chilly Chopin recital. Isabella clapped, smiled, fielded young airs, gracious words. Mentally noted who talked too much, who watched, who cared about climate, who parroted lines. Back in her room at last, night had domed the mountain in black velvet. Moonlight peeked through cloud. The lit slope unfurled like a luminous tongue down the hill. Isabella kicked off heels, hung the dress with care habits die-hard sans ladies in waiting and cracked the window. Cold sliced like fine crystal, but she welcomed it on her skin with relief. The outdoor silence differed from palace hush. Not watched, eavesdropped silence. Essential, honest. Snow's hush, falling unobserved. Eyes shut, forehead to chilled glass. This term at Montreval was meant as a phase, a pause before home, where her calendar loomed. International law studies, official duties, engagement announcement, pegged advisors pick for peak media spring. She knew that plan like her childhood home. Every stair, every hushed hall. Yet this crystal valley whispered other possibilities. Maybe altitude, or distance from headlines and lenses. Montreval built itself a leadership lab. Isabella wasn't sure what that meant practically, but stories abounded. Closed-door debates birthing surprise alliances. Friendships reshaping ministries a decade on. Romances blazing like comets, fizzling before reality's threshold. A lab for futures. And yours, Isabella? She whispered, voice barely fogging glass. Just others' sums. The echo dissolved. Next morning, pre-dawn, the mountain woke her. Not sound clarity. Snow's way of bouncing faint light, filling the room in milky blue glow. Isabella woke knowing, sans clock, it was too early for official anything. Schedule kicked at 7, strategic breakfast, mandatory fitness, classes. Clock read 5:45 a.m. She could sleep more. Linger in bed, review ethical leadership syllabus. Horsey's rarest gift, an hour unaccounted for. She rose quietly, sparing sleeping Lucy next door. Thermal leggings, wool tee, ski jacket, hat, gloves. Motion's lifelong ritual from booted winters, controlled Valmont station jaunts, ever under discreet guard. Difference, no one scheduled her. She grabbed skis, boots from the labeled gear lockers in the hall, each student's perk. Corridors hushed, lights dim, air wood and night heater scented. Lobby guard yawned at desk. Good morning, she greeted, smiled disarming objections. I'd like the slope. He blinked, clock shot. Checked screen. Private slopes reserved from 7 for royals and equivalents. Your Highness, he said. But right now, it's free. Left it hanging. Isabella held his eyes. Just a few minutes, she assured. I need to breathe. Word innocent, poetic. Both knew it meant a moment sans diplomatic translators for every gesture. Guard hesitated, nodded. I'll escort to access, he said. Then watch from post, if okay. Safety rules. Isabella agreed. Closest she'd get, near freedom, near alone. Outside, cold hit crisp. Sky shifted black to blue, pink horizon line. Snow pristine under slope lights. Booted and clipped in, old thrill coursed fire euphoria mix. Her father called skiing powers fragility reminder. One balance slip, inevitable fall. For her, descent was opposite, soul total forgetfulness. On slope, no cameras, ministers, maps. Just speed, legs, snow. I'll be here, guard said, pointing control hut. Isabella nodded, Poles planted, launched. World narrowed to falling grade ahead, wide groomed, packed snow glittering. Gentle start, steeper after. Midrun hinted challenge. Below, forest tunneled dark. Deep breath. She flew. First, ski snow kiss. Long sustained note. Soft whoosh, glide wind nipping cheeks. Knees bent. Forward Lynn daily, world headlines. Duties, nations. Ministers left atop plateau. Pure velocity. Chill. Right carve, left broad arcs. Sky brightened seconds by silver blue edging peaks. White expanse, she wasn't highness. Body in motion, racing pulse, throat's silent laugh. Then, she heard it. Buzz. Wind at first, then insistent. From above, roar slicing air, closing fast mismatched to morning calm. Isabella glanced back. Snow plume from someone barreling top slope at reckless speed. White trail, dark blur, center snaking, precise, tightening hairpin turns. Not long on slope, but she knew. This stretch Royals only pre-7, per protocol. Others used other runs. Briefings hammered it. Aurora sector, restricted access. Enhanced surveillance. Intruders seemed unbothered. Frown set, she hugged slope tighter, accelerating. Maybe finish before catch-up. Avoid scene, rebukes. First day clash with reckless air. Last need. Roar swelled, clearer, nearer. Now, pole plant thwacks direction changing. Ignore, no. Edged slope side for space. Snow grumbled, sharp turn crunch. Instinct held balance. Head turn, clear view. Skier hurdled full tilt, near horizontal lean, perfect line, bisecting run. Form flawless, admiration worthy elsewhere. Red-black ray suit, black helmet, goggles, dawn mirrors. No slowdown, none intended. Isabella gritted teeth. Space enough, she thought. Wide run. He veers right, passes, continues. Just acknowledge company. 20 meters out. Knew it wouldn't. Maybe spotted late, or saw from start, betting last second dodge. Either way, line held straight her word. Isabella edged further. Snow shifted, groomed powder ice mix. Left ski sank, right lifted. Gravity betrayed, impact. Not vicious, sharp enough for gasp. Bodies collided, odangle, inertia's tangling, mutual theft of balance. Shoulder to chest, reflexive waist grab, averting worse. World whited snow sky. Tumbled meters cross skis, lost poles. Cold stabbed back. Knees, wrists. Helmet thudded, hollow, cushioned. Stopped prone, breath ragged. Pale blue sky pulsing overhead. Seconds. Own breath, ear blood, thrum. Then, voice. You okay? Grave timbre, hard place accent, Northern Europe, international schools mix. Irritated over concerned indignation sparked. Isabella blinked focus. Skier knelt one knee over. Goggles off, gray-silver eyes, scanning quick. Cheek red-marked helmet friction maybe. Breath vapor puffed, hurt pressed. She tried rising. World tilted brief. Dizziness from think not. Controlled tone. Just a fall. He exhaled, held breath to relieve. Good voice tensed. Isabella noted no, who are you? Jacket name embroidered, sufficed. Or maybe, ironic scandals easier sans exact victim ID. Gloves off, probed helmet, shoulders, legs. Nothing broken. Bruises sure. No knee shoe. This stretch is reserved. Head to slope. You should know. Skier-eyed second, side smile brief, humorless. I do. Then, calm, cut, no issue. For me, chill hit deeper. Lifetime variants heard from Labo politicos. Market good, evading tycoons. But here, white run refuge from etiquette, rang different arrogance. Isabella full up, Poles snow stuck steady. Slope reserved royalty. Throne room tone. Protocol. Security. Shrugged, amused. Exactly calm near challenge. Not for me. Elsewhen, other person. Clumsy flirt. Here cheek burnt knee throb undersuit. Pure disdain. Who were you supposed to be? Slipped pre-check. Offended. Smile sharpened. Alexander pet. Name dropped leap. Isabella sensed guards sliding down alarmed. Seen Princess Financier. Snow tangled Don 1. Prime Entrevolavoy. Grateful no press. Security only least. And you. After. Order obvious. Dawn rookie or schedule runaway. Isabella tucked escaped Gorostrand. Isabella of Velma. Brow flicked. No bow. No protocol patch gesture. Just assessed undeciphered something. Slope glanced. Guess we're both where we belong, concluded. Just not same time. Guard arrived breathless. Your Highness? You all right? Medical, fine pre-end. Just fall. My fault, Alexander added. Appalled. Curve too tight. Guard mix respect fear. Mr. Petrov, sector closed pre-7 exclusive per security protocol. You know? I do, same serene. Noted. Empty vow. Or worse. Reminder note takers other. Isabella pulls harder. Done for today, said. Thanks, encounter. Word choice, mystery, but air-charged, new. Alexander held gaze over. Interesting, countered. Turned, controlled ascent access, back refused. Felt back stare wait non-imagine. Muscles begged flight from humiliation and vain. Topridge guard steps back, released held breath. Not first slope, never left such odd wake. Boot off building re-enter. Cheeks cold heart to wake 4 hour, not ordinary term. Mountain silent snow veiled. Witness far beyond classes. Flawless speeches. Chapter 2. The steam from the shower clung to the mirror like a secret Isabella wasn't ready to face. She stood under the scalding water longer than necessary, letting it scour away the morning's grit, the snow packed in her hair, the ache in her knee, the lingering echo of Alexander Petrov's voice, saying not for me. By the time she emerged, wrapped in a towel thick as a cloud, the clock on the marble vanity read 7:12 a.m. Late for the strategic breakfast? Perfect. Lucy was already in motion, laying out fresh clothes with the efficiency of someone who'd ironed royalty before dawn. Your Highness, the dining hall, I'll manage. Isabella cut in, milder than she felt. She dressed quickly, tailored trousers, cashmere sweater in Montreville blue, hair twisted into a knot that said composed without trying too hard. No time for makeup beyond mascara and a swipe of neutral gloss. Let them see the faint flush on her cheeks from the cold door, whatever else they imagined. The corridor hummed now, alive with footsteps and murmured conversations in half a dozen languages. Students streamed toward the dining hall, a mix of crisp uniforms and subtle status symbols. A Rolex peeking from a cuff, earrings that screamed heirloom, backpacks monogrammed with crests she'd need a diplomatic briefing to decode. Isabella slipped into the flow, head high, blending as much as a Valmont princess ever could. The dining hall was a vaulted wonder of Alpine modernism, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the peaks, long communal tables groaning under platters of fresh croissants, artisanal cheeses, poached eggs on rye, and those perfect Swiss yogurts swirled with alpine berries. No fast fashion here, no. Every element whispered old money refined for the digital age. She scanned for her assigned seat, but her eyes snagged first on him. Alexander Petrov sat at the far end of a table with the ski team, crew broad-shouldered, athletes who looked like they'd been born on. He was laughing at something a girl with a Swedish accent said, his head thrown back, exposing the strong line of his throat. No trace of their collision. No bandage, no limp. Just easy charisma that pulled the room's energy like gravity. Their gazes locked across the 20 feet of polished oak. He didn't flinch, didn't look away, just raised his coffee mug in a mock toast, the corner of his mouth quirking up. Challenge. Amusement. Isabella felt heat crawl up her neck knot, the good kind. She broke first, turning to her place beside the Ardell princess, who was already dissecting the morning's headlines on her tablet. Morning, Isabella said, sliding into her chair. The seat was still warm from whoever had occupied it before. Ilara of Ardell glanced up, her ice blue eyes sharp as fury. You look like you wrestled a yeti. Rough light in something like that? Isabella helped herself to black coffee in a pair, slicing it with precision. No need to elaborate. Ilara was sharp. She'd pry if it mattered. The breakfast briefing kicked off at 7:30 sharp, led by Victor Hansen from a podium that looked carved from a single glacier. Today's agenda: orientation seminars on crisis simulation, followed by team-building electives. Remember, Montreville isn't about individual glory, it's the network you build here that endures. Isabella tuned him out, her mind replaying the slope in slow motion, the roar of his approach, the split-second grab at her waist, the way his eyes had scanned her like she was terrain to conquer. Not for me. Arrogant, thrilling, in a way that made her grip the knife tighter. By 9 a.m., they were herded into the first seminar, Geopolitical Forecasting in Polarized Eras. The room was a high-tech amphitheater, seats with built-in screens, walls that doubled as interactive maps. Isabella took a row near the front, notebook open, pen poised. Ilara slid in beside her. Across the aisle, the Norwegian Energy Aerolov, something nodded hello. Then the door swung open, and Alexander strode in 5 minutes late. Heads turned. He didn't apologize, just scanned the room and dropped into the seat directly behind Isabella. Close enough, she caught his scent. clean soap, pine, and something sharper, like adrenaline residue. The professor, a former NATO strategist with a voice like grinding gravel, launched into scenarios. Imagine a supply chain rupture in the Arctic. Russia flexes, NATO hesitates. Who pivots first? Isabella's hand shot up early, outlining a multilateral energy pact she'd studied in her father's briefs. Precise, sourced, unassailable. The professor nodded approval. When Alexander spoke 10 minutes, and it was different. No note. Just a low, confident drawl. You hedge with cyber disruptions to their pipelines, while quietly courting Gulf suppliers. Chaos favors the prepared. The room shifted. Murmurs of agreement. Isabella twisted slightly, catching his eye. He leaned back, arms crossed, that same half-smile daring her to counter. She did, coolly, and alienate half of Europe. Short-term gain, long-term isolation. Their debate sparked quick volleys on risk matrices, alliance fractures. The professor let it run, eyes gleaming. By the end, the class was divided into camps, buzzing. Isabella won the round on points, but as they filed out, Alexander brushed past her chair. Nice footwork, Velmont. Almost as good as your skiing. Practice, she shot back, not turning. But her pulse betrayed her. Lunch was in the solarium, a glass-domed oasis where tropical plants defied the snowdrifts outside. Isabella picked at a quinoa salad, debriefing Alara on seminar highlights. Petrov's sharp. Too sharp. Elara smirked over her smoothie. He's a pet. They buy sharp. But watch him last year. He tanked a mock merger sim just to prove a point. Chaos artist. Isabella filed it away. Chaos. The opposite of Valmont's careful calibrations. Afternoon electives splintered the group. Isabella chose diplomatic negotiation dynamics, expecting dry roleplay. Instead, it was a locked-room immersion, divided into syndicates, handed dossiers on a fictional border dispute. Her team, Alara Olaf, and a quiet Italian countess whose family owned half the Mediterranean coastline. Across the room, Alexander led the opposing syndicate. Their eyes met over briefing packets. Game on. The simulation escalated fast. Isabella's side pushed for arbitration. Alexander countered with economic sanctions veiled as incentives. He argued with that effortless command, pacing like a panther, dissecting her points not with aggression but surgical precision. Your arbitration assumes good faith, Velma. Realpolitik doesn't. She fired back. And your sanctions assume endless capital. What when your conglomerate's exposed? The room thickened with tension. Observers, senior students whispered bets. By standoff's end, both sides compromised on a fragile truce. But Isabella felt the thrill of it linger. Electric. As teams debriefed, Alexander approached her table, dossier in hand. You fight clean. Respectable. Results matter more than style, she said, stacking her notes. He leaned in, voice low. Does it? Or is clean just another cage? The words landed like a hook. She met his gaze, gray eyes pulling like magnets. Not everyone's looking to break free, Petrov, yet here you are, on my slope at dawn. He straightened, smirk returning. Curious. Before she could retort, Victor Hansen clapped for rap. Alexander vanished into the crowd. Dinner that night was in formal fondue stations, mulled wine, a string quartet playing Vivaldi riffs with electronic beats. Isabella circulated flawless. Handshakes with energy airs, laughs with future ministers. But awareness prickled Alexander across the room, holding court with the ski team, his laugh cutting through the chatter. Ilara sidled up. He's watching you. Isabella sipped her wine non-alcoholic, per protocol. Let him. Night fell heavy, stars pricking the velvet sky. Isabella's suite felt smaller, the window's view mocking her with the slope's distant glow. She paced, replaying the day, Seminar clashes, sim battles, that infuriating pull, curious, as if she were the puzzle. Sleep evaded. At 2 a.m. she gave up, pulling on thermals and boots. Not the slope, no repeating mistakes. Instead, the greenhouse, a permitted late-night haunt for reflective study. The path crunched underfoot, lit by solar lanterns. Inside, humidity enveloped her like a hug, ferns dripping, orchids glowing under grow lights, lemon trees heavy with fruit. She sank onto a wrought iron bench, breathing deep, citrus, earth, escape. Footsteps echoed on stone. She tensed. Security? No, the silhouette was too casual. Alexander emerged from the shadows, unzipping his parka. Knew I'd find someone here. Didn't expect you. Public space, she said evenly, though her heart kicked. What brings a chaos artist to the plants? He dropped beside her, not too close, but enough to crowd the air. Clears the head. You, same lie. Truth, both. Lee's silence stretched, not awkward but loaded. He picked a lemon leaf, twirled it. Today's sim you held your line. Most fold under pressure. Training? She watched his hands, strong, scarred from polls or deals. He chuckled softly. Valmont training. All polish, no cracks. She bristled. Better than cracks that shatter everything. His eyes darkened. Shatter? Or reshape? My father's empire built on cracks. Absorb competitors. Pivot markets. Human cost. Collateral. The confession hung raw. Isabella blinked. Not the polished air. Vulnerable? And you, he pressed. Princess betrothed to stability. Happy in the cage. She looked away, orchid petal trembling in a draft. Stability keeps nations afloat. People fed. Safe or stagnant? He leaned closer, voice velvet over steel. Ever wonder what you want, Isabella? Not Val. The use of her name, no heat flushed her skin. Careful pet. Lines exist for reasons. Lines are for slopes. And even those. His grin flashed, wicked. She stood, breaking the spell. Good night. His laugh followed her out. Sweet dreams, Valmont. Back in her suite, Isabella bolted the door, pulse thunder. The greenhouse had been neutral ground. Now it felt marked. Next days blurred. Classes on cyber diplomacy. Fitness drills where Alexander dominated the rink. Laps that left her breathless. Stolen glances in halls. Debates sharpening like blades. He provoked, she parried. Publicly poised, privately fraying. Friday brought the week's capstone. The winter retreat briefing. Victor Hansen gathered the cohort in the Grand Hall. A 2-day excursion into the High Alps. Leadership under adversity, no aids. Minimal gear. Builds resilience. Murmurs rippled. Isabella scanned the roster. Her group, Alara Olaf, the Italian Countess, and Alexander Petrov. Fate, or design. Her stomach twisted. That night, as snow whispered against her window, Isabella lay awake. The mountain loomed larger, secrets pressing close. Alexander wasn't just a rival. He was a fault line, beautiful, dangerous, inevitable. And tomorrow, they'd climb it together. Chapter 3. The funicular groaned as it hauled the group up the mountain, a steel beast biting into the dawn fog. Isabella gripped the railing, her breath fogging the glass, watching the academy shrink to a cluster of dark shapes below. 30 students total, bundled in agency-issued parkas and packs heavy with minimal gear, energy bars, thermal blankets, satellite phones that Director Moser swore would work unless the storm gods say otherwise. No aids, no security hover, just raw alpine truth. Her group of 8 huddled at the back, Alara scanning a topographic map with lawyerly focus, Olaf cracking jokes about Viking endurance, the Italian Countess Sophia sketching wildflowers in a pocket notebook, despite the chill, and the others 2 energy heirs from the Baltics, a French diplomat's daughter. Alexander lounged against the opposite wall, long legs stretched, eyes on the horizon like he owned the view. Their gazes collided once. He tipped an imaginary hat. She looked away first. Victor's briefing echoed in her head. The winter retreat tests cohesion under pressure. Reach the stone refuge by dusk. Overnight. Hike out tomorrow. Weather window tight. Trust your team. Trust. The word felt like a dare in a place where alliances shifted like the doors hissed open at the upper station, unleashing a gale that clawed at exposed skin. Snow devils swirled across the platform, visibility down to 50 feet. Isabella cinched her hood, clipping into snowshoes that bit deep into powder. Alara took point, navigator by default. Alexander fell to rear guard, his voice cutting through, stay tight. Avalanches love stragglers. The trail plunged into a birch forest, trunks like bleached bones arching overhead. First hour passed in rhythm, crunch of snowshoes, clipped chatter, the thrill of untethered wild. Isabella's world expanded, no palace walls, no camera flashes, just the burn in her thighs, the crisp bite of air scented with resin and ice. She caught herself glancing back at Alexander, his stride effortless, pack balanced like it weighed nothing. He met her eyes, that half smile flashing, see? Not so caged. Mile 2, the forest thinned, wind howled unchecked, whipping spindrift into stinging veils. Alara called bearings from her GPS, but static crackled warnings, signal degrading. Olaf shared a flask of herbal tea, warm against gloved palms. Conversation turned to war stories, Alaris midnight UN sims, Sophia's yacht disasters. Isabella shared sparingly, a Valmont protocol gaffe that nearly sparked a trade spat. Laughter rippled, fragile as frost. Alexander's turn came mid-climb, voice steady over gusts. Ever negotiated a hostile takeover at 10,000 feet? Father did once. Private jet grounded. Competitors' team snowed in with us. Closed the deal over cognac by the fire. The group leaned in, hungry for grit. Isabella probed. And the human cost? He paused, gray eyes locking hers. You calculate it, then execute. No bravado. Just steel. By noon, clouds boiled black overhead. Summit push a chute of ice-sheathed rock, demanding crampons and ice axes. Isabella clipped in, harness taut. Alexander demoed technique smooth, instructor caliber, then partnered her line. Breathe steady. Plant firm. His gloved hand steadied her elbow on a sketchy step. Touch brief, electric through layers. Got it, Belmont. Affirmative. But her pulse betrayed her. They crested false summit into hell. Wind screamed at 60 knots. Visibility 0. Snow pelted horizontal, blurring faces to ghosts. Alaris GPS flatlined. Compass only. Panic flickered, then Alexander barked orders. Tighten up. Rope teams. Bear 270. No debate. Group obeyed. He navigated blind memory for topo maps, photographic corrections, sharp as a blade. Isabella roped second, his lead unyielding. One Baltic air slipped. Alexander lunged. belay holding. Steady dusk bled crimson through the murk, as the stone refuge materialized. A squat granite bunker half buried in drift, chimney puffing defiant smoke. Cheers erupted. Door battered open by wind and reality crashed. Inside, cramped main room, stone walls, sweating damp. Iron stove gulping wood ravenously, barely chasing 40 degrees. Bunks stacked triple high, mattresses thin as cardboard. One lantern flickered shadows. Inventory tinned stew for 12, not 8 hungry mouths times 2 days. Water purifier clogged, propane low. Helicopter extract. Sophia ventured, teeth chattering. Radio hissed static. Montreal base, refuge alpha storm, front accelerating. No fly until 48 hours minimum. Groans rippled. Overnight stretched to eternity. Alexander claimed stove duty, rationing with light gold. Hilara organized bunks. Olaf melted snow. Isabella tallied supplies. Diplomatic calm, masking gnaw of hunger. Group fractured fast. Baltics bickered over portions. French girl curled fetal, homesick sobs, muffled. Sophia sketched a coat. Hilara paced, quoting Arctic explorer logs. Night clamped down. Stove dimmed to embers. Cold seeped insidious, fingers numb, despite gloves. Huddled in shared blankets. Stories flowed for warmth. Childhoods gilded but lonely palaces echoing empty. Boardrooms stealing fathers. Isabella confessed softly. Betrothal at 8. Photo op smiles. No vote. Eyes widened. Vulnerability raw. Alexander, opposite. Stripped to thermal's muscle, corded from slopes and stress. Empire means choices. Absorb or be absorbed. Thousands of jobs, my call. Voice cracked once, eyes distant. Hate it sometimes. Silence thick. Isabella met his gaze across the glow. No princess. No heir. Just 2 souls stripped bare. Wind screamed crescendo. Lantern sputtered. Propane clicked empty. Dark, absolute. Body heat, Alexander said flatly. No leer. Survival math. Pairs formed. Ella Roloff, Sophia Baltic duo. Isabella eyed last bunkers and his logic over pride. They climbed in tandem, backs to stove remnants. Space forced proximity, her spine to his chest, his arm draped functional over waist. Layers dulled but amplified, heartbeats sank. Breath ragged unison. Cold clawed, but shared furnace built slow. Sleep evaded. His whisper feathered hair. Ever feel trapped, Isabella? Not by snow. By duty. Name again. No title. She twisted fraction, eyes locking moon pale through dark. Every day. Marco Goodman. Safe alliance. But, trail off. Truth too heavy? His fingers tightened imperceptibly. Safe's a slow death. Confession spilled then, dam broken. Her dreams of penning treaties herself, not posing for them. Nights staring at stars, wondering Misan's crown. Him, loathing boardroom blood layoffs masked as efficiency. Rivals crushed for stock ticks. Want to build, not bury. Words wove intimate. Voices hushed under gale's roar. Laughter slipped shared absurdities. Protocol fails. Botched mergers. Vulnerability bridged. Fears of failure. Isolation of thrones and empires. Touch shifted arm to hand. Fingers lace accident. Sometime past midnight, exhaustion claimed. They slept entwined. Breaths mingled. World shrunk to shared warmth. Dawn pierced cracks. Rosy glow on iced window. Isabella stirred first. Awareness flooding. Alexander awake, unmoving. Eyes soft, unguarded. No pull away. Spell held. Storm broke. Hope tentative. Radio crackled life. Rescue inbound midday. Hang tight. Relief surged. But as group stirred cracking jokes, Rationing last stew, something shifted irrevocable. Isabella caught Alexander's glance over flames. Promise unspoken. Outside, skies cleared to diamond brilliance. Peaks glittered innocent. But in stone, refuge's heart, fault lines cracked open, loyalties tested, walls tumbled. Isabella de Valmont glimpsed self beyond symbol. And in Alexander Petrov's eyes, she saw reflection, partner, not prize. As rotors thumped, distant heralding returned to Montrevel's polish, one truth anchored: they'd survive together. Changed. But mountains keep secrets. And storms, they always return. Chapter 4. The helicopter blades thwacked rhythmically against the crisp alpine air, a mechanical heartbeat pulling Isabella and her group back from the stone refuge's raw embrace. She sat strapped in beside Alara, forehead pressed to the cold window, watching the granite bunker shrink to a gray speck amid endless white. Alexander was across the cabin, knees bumping Olaf's, his profile carved sharp against the glare josset, eyes distant, as if replaying the night's confessions frame by frame. Their gazes met once through the webbing of safety straps. No smile, no nod, just a shared weight, heavy as the thermal blanket they'd shared hours before. Touch lingered phantom on her skin, the deliberate drape of his arm. Fingers laced in the dark, breath sinking like a secret code. Isabella shifted, crossing her arms tighter. Survival, she told herself. Nothing more. But the lie tasted thin, even to her. Montrevel materialized below, like a fairy tale kingdom thawed from ice, spires glinting gold in midday sun. Smoke curling from chimneys, figures milling on cleared paths like ants in tailored wool. The chopper touched down smooth on the helipad, rotors winding down to silence. Victor Hansen waited with a clipboard and that perpetual mediator's smile, aides fluttering like well-trained birds. Everyone intact, he called, scanning faces. Relief masked the undercurrent damage control loomed. Debrief in the Grand Hall, 1600 hours. Hot showers first. Cheers erupted. Olaf whooped, slapping backs. Sophia hugged her sketchbook like a talisman. Ilara shot Isabella a knowing side-eye. You and Petrov. Cozy rope team. Practical, Isabella replied, voice even, but heat crept up her neck. Showers called a luxury after the refuge's dank chill. Isabella lingered under the steam, scrubbing away powder grit and the scent of pine smoke that clung like memory. Clean clothes felt alien, soft cashmere against skin, still humming from altitude adrenaline. In the mirror, her reflection stared back, altered eyes brighter, cheeks flushed, not just from wind. Who are you now? Debrief packed the grand hall, all 30 students shoulder to shoulder on velvet chairs, professors flanking Victor on the raised dais. Director Moser opened crisp. Data confirms. Storm exceeded forecasts. You adapted? That's Slides clicked. Topo maps, wind charts, GPS logs. Praise Flodolera's navigation, Olaf's morale, Alexander's command in whiteout. Isabella noted her own mentions, supply triage, team mediation. Subtle nods to the bunk pairings, framed clinical body heat protocols, 100% compliance, 0 incidents. But eyes darted, whispers slithered. Princess and Petrov. Ski team guys elbowed grins. Ilara's crew exchanged smirks. Alexander sat 3 rows back, posture relaxed, but Isabella felt his stare like a brand. Questions opened. A Baltic air probed, radio silence deliberate test. Victor deflected smooth. Nature's unpredictability. Builds instinct. Then, from the back, a future minister's son, heard the stone refuge has history. Old lovers' trysts. Laughter rippled, cut sharp by Moser's glare. Focus, she snapped. Resilience, not romance. Isabella's stomach nodded. History. She'd skimmed retreat briefs, no such lore. But the room's energy shifted, eyes flicking her way. Alexander's jaw ticked. Debrief wrapped. Cohort dispersed to feasts of roast lamb and mulled cider. Isabella circulated flawless congrats, exchanged, laughs manufactured. Victor pulled her aside in alcove shadow. Impressive poise. Your father will hear. Pause. Eyes keen. Petrov. Watch proximity. Optics matter. Understood, she murmured. Protocol autopilot. But appetite fled. She slipped early to her suite window, framing twilight peaks, now soft lavender. Phone buzzed, encrypted line from Palace Valmont. Monitors weather. Marco sends regards. Stay impeccable. Ice water in veins. Marco. The betrothal ghost, polite phantom. Knock shattered quiet. Lucy? No door cracked to reveal Alexander. Parka unzipped, hair tousled from wind. Talk bold. Reckless. She stepped aside, wordless. Door clicking shut. Room shrank with him in its 6 feet of coiled energy. Gray eyes stormlit. Refuge stays there, he said flat, pacing to window. No games. Agreed. But pulse thrummed traitor. He turned, close to close. Then why this? Hand ghosted her arm, echo of bunk. Pull electric, magnetic. Isabella froze, breath caught. World narrowed. His pine scent, faint stubble shadow. Lips parted on unspoken. Reason screamed retreat. She leaned in, fraction testing, daring. Air crackled. His hand cupped jaw, gentle firm. Thumb tracing cheek. Isabella? Whispered name ignited. Kiss landed, soft explosion. Lips warm, hesitant then hungry. Her fingers knotted parka zipper. His tangled hair. Heat built wildfire, weeks of tension uncoiling. Hands roamed shoulders. Waist, pulling flush. Gasps traded, world spun molten. Door rattled, Lucy with tea tray. They sprang apart, chests heaving, lips swollen. Hide, Isabella hissed. Alexander vaulted to balcony, slipping into shadow as Lucy entered, oblivious. Evening service, Your Highness. Tray set. Early rest post-retreat. Yes. Voice steady, miracle. Door shut, balcony empty, gone like smoke. Isabella sank to bed aflame. Idiot. Exhilarated. Terrified. Lips tingled, ghost keys. Body hummed. Duty ward, desire Marco, Valmont, alliances. One lapse. But fault line widened. Next morning Montrevel buzzed leak. Dining hall hummed speculation. Saw them roped tight. Refuge sparks fly. Ilara cornered her. Spill. Petrov. Survival. Deflection weak. Classes dragged electric. Cyber seminar. Alexander 2 rows over. Foot brushing hers, accidental. Debate hall. Volleys laced subtext. Eyes locked. Lunch solarium. He passed salt, deliberate slow, fingers graze, sending sparks. Afternoon ski drills, captain's domain. Isabella joined advanced, pieced, craving speed. Alexander coached, crisp knees flex, Valmont. Own it. Demo flawless. Then partner drills. Spotting her form, hands on hips, corrective and better. Voice gravel approval. Tension simmered, public, group hikes. He lagged back. Last night. Trail off, grin wicked. Unfinished. She shoved shoulder play. Focus, captain. Scandal broke Thursday. Anonymous post-Montrevel insider account. Blurred chopper photo. Isabella and Alexander disembarking, close hands, near. Caption. Refuge royalty. Valmont princess plus. Petrov heir equals power couple. Hashtag Montrevel secrets hall, exploded whispers. Phones lit. Alerts pinged. Ilara shoved screen. Viral, 50K likes. Victor summoned principals to office. Moser stone-faced. Source traced, expelled by dawn. but damage viral. Alexander leaned cool. Deny. Blur. Standard. Isabella throat dry. Valmont statement. Team exercise. Misinterpretation. Moser eyed sharp. Marco Camp alerted. Conglomerate Petrov stirring. Handling both chorused near sink. Eyes metoned front. Dismissed. Corridor empty. Alexander cornered her. Ride it out. Us. Heart seized. Truth clawed. Everything. But, can't. Duty first. Pain flashed his eyes. Raw, unguarded. Always, the cage. He stormed off. Isabella leaned wall, crumbling internal. Dinner gala loomed. Black tie, international press, discreetly embedded. Isabella armored in sapphire gown. Diamonds at throat, Valmont shield. Mirrors lead, poised perfection. Inside, fracture. Grand hall transformed. Chandeliers blaze. Orchestra swells. Cohort glittered, Alara emerald. Sophia gold. Alexander tux, lethal black and black. Tie perfect, eyes hunting. Cameras flashed, caged. Isabella danced protocol. Waltzes with Olaf. Chats ministers and Alexander held court opposites. Laughs easy, but gaze tracked her relentless. Midnight chime. Spotlight dance. Tradition paired retreat partners. Crowd parted. Alexander extended hand formal. Princess. Palm met palm, fire, reignite. Floor cleared. Strings soared. Waltz formal facade. Bodies close orbit. Breaths mingle. We end this, she whispered, step, or begin. Counterstep, pull closer, improper. World watched. Isabella glimpsed flashes. Lenses hungry. Optics. Pullback fraction, protocol shield. Dance ended, applause. Hands parted, reluctant. Alexander bowed, crisp eyes promised war. She fled to balcony terrace, gown pooling snow-dusted stone. Stars wheeled cold. Peaks loomed judgment. Footsteps, he approached, parka over tucked shoulders, hers. Photo leak, you're doing. Accusations steal. Never. Insult genuine, aren't you? No. Want you free. Arms wrapped from behind. Chin nest hair. Yielded moment, strength, shelter. Free, how? Thrones crumble. Build new. Kiss neck, shiver rack. Press intrusion shattered. Flash distant ridge. Princess. Voice foreign, paparazzi breached perimeter. Chaos erupted. Security swarm, Victor barked. Alexander shielded, body block, whisked inside safe. Sweet lockdown. Lucy fretted. Isabella paced, tiger. Phone erupted. Palace fury. Scandal global. Marco questions alliance. Return immediate. Alexander slipped in post midnight. Face thunder. They'll separate us. Statements drafted. Fight. This bit. His hand-cupped face tender, fierce for you. Always. Kiss claimed desperate anchor. Close shed urgent. Skin to skin blaze. Love urgent, unspoken vows in gasps. Touches mapping souls. Night their stolen paradise amid storm. Dawn brought siege. Reporters helipad. Alerts screamed headlines. Valmont heiress in Petrov passion. Betrothal bust. Montreville fortress cracked. Isabella dressed armor. Faced mirror fractured. Choice loomed. Duty cage. Or Alexander's wild freedom. Mountains whispered warning. Falls from heights shatter hardest. Chapter 5. Dawn bled crimson across the Alps, painting Montreval's spires in hues of blood and rose, as if the mountains themselves wept for the scandal unfolding below. Isabella stood at her suite's window, the sapphire gown from the gala discarded like a shed skin across the chaise, replaced by a simple black sweater and trousers that felt more like armor than comfort. Her phone vibrated ceaselessly on the marble table, encrypted lines from Valmont's palace, brusque pings from Ladavia's court, urgent voicemails from her father's chief of staff. Return immediately. Containment protocol engaged. Marco withdraws support. Each alert was a noose tightening. The world beyond the glass contracting, 2 headlines screaming her name. Valmont princess and forbidden alpine fling. Petrov air poaches, royal bride markets tremble. Stock tickers for the Petrov conglomerate dipped in after-hours trading. Diplomatic cables buzzed with veiled threats from allied states. She hadn't slept. Their knee to Alexander's body, a map of salvation against hers. Whispers of rebellion traded in the dark, now mocked her from the rumpled sheets. His scent lingered on the pillows, pine and salt and promise. For you? Always, he'd vowed, fingers tracing the curve of her spine like etching a treaty on skin. But dawn had brought reality's cold blade. Separation was no longer hypothetical. It was decreed. A soft knock. Lucy entered, eyes wide with the subdued panic of loyal service. Your Highness, the director summons you to the private council room. Mr. Petrov too. Security has the perimeter lock, no press inside, but helicopters circle the ridges. She hesitated, tray of coffee trembling slightly. It's everywhere. Isabella nodded, stealing her voice. Thank you, Lucy. Pack for departure. I'll be home by nightfall. The words carved hollow in her chest. The council room was a vault of dark walnut and leather-bound ledgers, lit by a fire that did little to warm the frost in the air. Director Moser sat at the head, flanked by Victor Hansen and 2 stone-faced security chiefs. Alexander arrived moments after, striding in with that deliberate calm hair, still tousled from their night. Jaw shadowed, gray eyes locking on hers across the table like a lifeline in storm. No chairs between them. The space felt engineered for confrontation. Damage assessment, Moser began, voice clipped as a guillotine. Slides projected on the wall. Viral metrics exploding 500K shares. Tabloids from London to Dubai. Hashtag Mont REVAL. Scandal trending globally. Valmont faces succession crisis. Latvia threatens trade embargo. Petrov Sr. has already divested from 3 key EU funds. Retaliation or signal, doesn't matter. Markets wobble. Our discretion is breached. Expulsion is on the table. Alexander leaned forward, elbows on polished wood. Expel us. For surviving your retreat. Good luck with the headlines. Victor's smile was thin. Discretion means no stories. Yours is the story. Isabella, your father demands extraction. Private jet fueled. Alexander, your family's yacht waits in Geneva, but Sergei Petrov arrives by noon. Ultimatum, distance, or disinherit. Isabella's throat closed. Disinherit. The word echoed her own buried fear, not of thrones lost, but self-erased. She met Alexander's gaze, saw the mirror, his empire fracturing under paternal axe. We build new, he'd whispered hours ago. Now, ashes. My statement, she said, voice steady as glacial ice. Team exercise misinterpreted. No further comment. Alexander's fist clenched under the table, visible only to her. Mine, survival drill. Rumors baseless. But his eyes screamed lie, a silent plea across the divide. Moser slid folders forward. Sin? Or Montreval becomes ground zero for your wars. They signed in silence, pens scratching like accusations. Dismissed. Corridor waited empty, echoing. Alexander caught her wrist as door clicked shut, pulling her into alcove shadow. Don't go. We fight this. His touch ignited familiar fire. Fight how? Thrones fall. Jobs vanish. Thousands pay for hour. Us, unspoken. Then we burn it calibrated. Urgency cracked is cool. Run. Neutral territory Geneva, my jet. Announced together. New alliances. Heart seized. Tempting madness. Freedom's siren call. But Wellmont's people farmers in mist-shrouded valleys. Children waving flags at her birthdays. Flashed vivid. I can't. Duty isn't cage. It's anchor. Pain raw in his eyes. Anchor or chain. He kissed fierce claiming farewell. Choose you. For once. Footsteps echoed. Victor appeared. Helicopter, Isabella. Now. She pulled away, world fracturing. Alexander's silhouette receded as security whisked her to helipad rotors thumping judgment. The flight to the airstrip blurred. Alps scrolling below like a kingdom in retreat. Phone call from father voice thunder. Marco walks. Succession to your cousin. Return. Mary within quarter. Stability. Tears, pricked, fury, grief. No words. Line dead. Private jet waited. Silver bullet to Val. She boarded numb. Sinking into leather throne. Pilot announced takeoff. Engines roared ascent. Then commotion. Co-pilot emerged. Passenger override. Mr. Petrov aboard. Alexander strode cabin aft. Coat shedding snow. Eyes ablaze. Not without fight. Security lunged. Isabella rose. Stand down. He's guessed. Cabin sealed. Jet climbed Montrevel, vanishing. Insane, she breathed half laugh. Expulsion sir. Worth it. He dropped beside, hand claiming hers. Here a proposal. Words tumbled. Renegotiate betrothals, publicly her with ally neutral. Him partnering conglomerate to Valmont interests. Joint venture, green energy Alps, jobs bridging nations. Scandal flips to strength. You and me, equals. Vision dazzled. Possible. Valmont stabilized. His empire buffered. Us veiled public, real private. Risky. Fathers won't bend. Then we force. Determination steel. Hours blurred. Mid-air strategy. Calls to Ali Solara. Pledging on youth block. Olaf Energy Pipelines. Draft press release. Valmont Air. Petrov Forge Future Alliance. Romance. Rumor. Strategic synergy. Valmont Palace loomed at dusk golden lights, mocking. Jet touched concrete. Cars waited. Father, on tarmac. Regal fury. Suit impeccable. Eyes dissecting. Isabella. No title. Omen. Father. Alexander flanked united front. We propose. Enough. Hands silenced. Private conference. Opulent study. Fire roaring. Maps. Ledgers. Sergei Petrov arrived by limo bear of man. Silver mane. Eyes cold ledgers. Negotiations ignited. Fathers clashed titans. Sergei demanding equity. Father countering succession rights. Isabella and Alexander tag team data sharp. Vision bold. Alpine grid, Valmont tech, Petrov capital. 10K jobs year 1. Hours ground. Midnight struck. Tempers frayed. Marco called video plight blade. Alliance intact if distance. Isabella's refusal. New terms. Or none. Dawn crept. Compromise cracked. Betrothal. Dissolved mutual. Joint venture greenlit. 51% Valmont control. Sergei grumbled concession. Father nodded grudging. Us unaddressed private victory. Fathers departed. Study emptied. Isabella and Alexander alone exhausted, triumphant. You did it. His arms crushed close. We. Lips met victories, but door burst. Aid pale. Press breach. Galas live streamed globally. Photo U2. Airstrip kiss leak. Screens blared. Chopper paparazzi shot. Lips locked defiant. Headlines exploded anew. Royal rebellion. Valmont defies duty. Palace siege. Phones manic. Father stormed back. Ruined. Succession void. Truth crashed. No half measure. Isabella stepped forward. Alexander hand in hers. We choose each other. All father's face crumbled shock. Then, resignation. Valmont survives. But you? World watched. Press conference dawnlit. Microphones jungle. Flashes blinding. Isabella at podium. Alexander beside. Valmont announces new era. She declared, voice clear as mountain streams. Betrothal ended. Petra-Valmont alliance launches energy independence. Jobs for thousands. Personal, yes. Love isn't scandal. It's strength. Gasps. Cheers. Chaos. Questions flew. Marriage. Markets. Alexander fielded cool. Watch stocks rise. They clasped hands, public defiant vow. Markets rebounded midday. Venture news eclipsed gossip. Lidovia grumbled, but trade flowed. Montreal statement. Proud alumni forge futures. Weeks blurred. Summits. Signings. Headline shifting power couple to visionaries. Isabella shed princess shell treaty drafter, not symbol. Alexander pivoted empire green layoffs to winter ball, Montreal, snow eternal, hall aglow. Cohort toasted, Ilara winked, Olaf clapped, Grand Salon swirled gowns. Tuxis. Spotlight dance, tradition twisted. Alexander crossed marble, ambassadors parting. Bowed protocol perfect then rose, eyes locked soul deep. No empire without you, public vow, micked world over. Silence absolute, Isabella stepped forward, no obedience. Hand in his, lips claimed unscripted, fierce. Applause thundered, flashes eternal. Mountains framed window, eternal sentinels. Storms passed, new peaks called. Hearts synced, futures forged. Not cage, not chain. Empire theirs, love's unyielding steel. Fade to snow, falling soft, witness eternal. Secrets sealed in crystal. Love conquers. Always. Part 2, Crystal Oath, Shattered Thrones. Chapter 1. 6 weeks had passed since the world watched Isabella de Valmont and Alexander Petrov claim their defiant victory in Montrevel's snow-swept Grand Hall. Headlines had shifted from scandal to legend. Royal romance saves nations. Their impulsive kiss under the chandeliers had ignited not just applause, but a cascade of investments into the Valmont-Petrov Alpine Greta, sprawling network of solar farms and wind turbines threading the Alps like veins of green fire. 10,000 jobs promised by spring, energy independence for Valmont, and a blueprint for Europe's future. Presidents called, markets soared, and Montrevel's alumni network hailed them as the new power couple. Isabella had traded her princess facade for something fiercer, courageant in training, drafting treaties alongside her father's ministers. Alexander was pivoting his father's conglomerate from oil empires to sustainable steel, shedding the old ruthlessness like winter skin. Their wedding had been the crowning jewel, a midnight secret in Montrevel's chapel, veiled from the world by fresh powder and a small circle of loyal witnesses. Isabella had walked the stone aisle in ivory silk that shimmered like alpine mist, her chestnut hair unbound for the first time in public, woven with crystal thorns that caught the candlelight like fallen stars. Alexander waited at the altar in a tailored black suit, no tie to constrain him, his gray eyes tracing her every step with a hunger that made the officianta, stoic Montrevel professor, clear his throat mid. Ilara of Ardel stood as maid of honor, her ice blue gaze softening with rare warmth. Olaf, the Norwegian energy heir, grinned like a Viking at a feast. The cohort encircled them, shadows in the flickering glow. No press drones, no palace handlers, no fathers with their ledgers and grudges. Just the mountains listening as they exchanged rings forged from recycled turbine blades. And Alexander's whisper against her lips, "No empire without you. No throne without us." That vow had felt unbreakable then, sealed with a kiss that tasted of champagne and freedom. But now, aboard Aurora Petrov Alexander's sleek yacht slicing through Lake Geneva's midnight waters, like a blade of polished obsidian, the fragility of their triumph pressed in like the damp chill seeping through the glass walls of the master suite. The air hung heavy with the scent of chilled champagne and polished cedar. The king-sized bed, a tangle of white furs and silk sheets still warm from their bodies. Isabella lay with her head pillowed on his chest, one leg draped possessively over his, her fingers tracing the faint scars across his ribs, marks from rogue ski poles and the sharper cuts of boardroom battles. The distant jet d'eau fountain arced silver against the city lights, a fleeting landmark before they vanished into the open lake. "We're unstoppable now," she murmured, her voice a soft vibration against his skin. The Alpine grid was already breaking ground. First turbines worried to life in Valmont's high valleys, local headlines praising the princess who powered her people. She tilted her head to meet his gaze, those silver-gray eyes that still unraveled her. "Davos will seal it. The world will see." Alexander's laugh rumbled low, his hand sliding lazily up her spine, fingers tangling in her loose waves. "Naive princess. Davos isn't a coronation, it's a coliseum. Heads of state, sharpening knives, CEOs circling like wolves. Our grit, it's a threat to every oil baron and coal king breathing." He kissed her temple, lingering, as if to imprint the words, "But we'll carve them open. Together." She smiled into his skin, breathing him in pine from the Alps, salt from the lake spray, and that undercurrent of adrenaline that never fully left him. 6 weeks of stolen bliss, mornings in Montrevel's greenhouses, trading strategy over coffee, afternoon skiing forbidden runs, hand in hand, nights where their bodies mapped new territories of trust. No more cages. She was Isabella Petrov Valmont now, hyphenated in heart if not yet on paper, and the future glittered like the lake under moonlight. Then his phone shattered the harsh buzz from the nightstand, insistent as a hornet. Alexander snatched it with a curse, thumbing the screen alive. Sergei Petrov's gravel voice boomed through the speakerphone, thick with Moscow winters and bourbon. Hackers, Alyosha. Grid bloop. Launch delayed. Markets diving like lemmings. Isabella bolted upright, the fur sheet pulling at her waist, heart slamming against her ribs. How bad? She leaned over him, chestnut hair curtaining their faces as she glimpsed the screen. Red arrows plummeting across Forex charts. Petrov conglomerate stock hemorrhaging 8% in after-hours trading. Catastrophic, Alexander growled, already swinging his legs off the bed, muscles coiling like a predator roused. He yanked on trousers, screens flickering to life around the sweet tablets, and monitors blooming with alerts. An anonymous post pulsed on dark web forums. Royal romance equals corporate ransom. Valmont Petrov schematics, yours for the right price. Attached files, proprietary turbine designs, efficiency algorithms. Watermarked with their weddings, crystal motif a thorny heart encircling their intertwined initials. Ooh, Isabella demanded, slipping into a silk robe the color of midnight snow, tying it tight against the chill snaking her spine. Her mind raced through enemies, disgruntled oil lobbyists, jealous royals, even her own cousin's faction back home, whispering of her reckless marriage, eroding Valmont's stability. Alexander's jaw ticked, eyes narrowing at the data streams. Marco's too obvious wounded pride makes sloppy revenge. Or my father, playing four-dimensional chess to teach me humility. He raked a hand through his dark hair, pacing the cabin's polished teak floors. Doesn't matter. Davos is in 48 hours. We expose it, their turn hack into headline. By dawn, the lake mirrored a siege. Press helicopters swarmed the no-fly perimeter, drones buzzing like vultures, breaching restricted airspace. Sergei arrived first, his private Gulfstream touching down on a floating helipad before limos ferried him aboard. The elder Petrov filled the yacht's salon like a storm front. Chapter 2. By dawn, the lake mirrored a siege. Press helicopters swarmed the no-fly perimeter, drones buzzing like vultures, breaching restricted airspace. Sergei arrived first, his private Gulfstream touching down on a floating helipad before limos ferried him aboard. The elder Petrov filled the yacht salon like a storm-front bearish frame, straining a bespoke cashmere coat. Silvermane wild with barely contained rage, eyes cold as Siberian ledgers. "You parade your little fairy tale across Europe," he bellowed, slamming a tablet onto the mahogany table. Charts glowing accusatory red. Love as leverage. Weakness? Now enemies smell blood. "Who pays for this, boy?" "Your princess bride." Isabella stepped forward, robe traded for a crisp blouse and slacks, her posture regal steel. "Not weakness, Mr. Pet. Opportunity. The grid survives this, we own the narrative." Her voice carried the honed edge of Montreval debates, unflinching under his glare. Sergei snorted, pouring vodka neat into crystal tumblers. "Opportunity. My stock bleeds 12% by open. Board calls for your head, Alyosha." He slid a glass to Alexander, who ignored it. Her own father materialized via secure video link from Valmont's palace, his face carved from granite in high definition. Crown jewels glinting faintly on the desk behind him. Succession whispers grow louder. "Isabella, your cousin circles like a vulture. Reckless union endangers the line. Prove this isn't folly, or I invoke Clause 17. Distance yourselves. Publicly." The words landed like a blade between ribs. Clause 17. The obscure protocol, allowing emergency separation for national security. Isabella's hand found Alexander's under the table, fingers lacing Tita, silent oath renewed. "We turn scandal to sword," Alexander said, voice low thunder. He pulled up schematics on the main screen, tracing hack vectors with the laser pointer. "Forensic trail leads East Belgrade servers. Ladavian IPs masked. Marco's uncle, perhaps. Davos keynote. We unveil it live. Partners rally. Grid launches anyway." Sergei eyed him appraisingly, then barked a laugh. "Ballsy. Like your grandfather." A grudging nod to Isabella. "You fight dirty too. Good." Talks stretched into morning, coffee turning bitter. Isabella fielded palace calls ministers, panicking over bond yields while Alexander coordinated cyber teams. By noon, Aurora Petrov docked at Geneva's private marina. Paparazzi barricades partying like Red Sea waves under security. Davos, echoes of ice. Davos glittered like a crown of diamonds against the alpine night. Chalets aglow with the soft hum of power. Private jets carving contrails over frozen lakes. The Congress Center a glittering hive where handshakes sealed trillions and whispers toppled governments. Isabella and Alexander arrived as the summit's golden couple, flawless in complementary white cashmere and charcoal wool, fielding a barrage of flashes with synchronized smiles that betrayed nothing of the yacht's Dawn War Council. Ilara greeted them in the lobby, her emerald gown a sharp contrast to the sea of black ties. Olaf at her side with a flask of aquavit, disguised as a pen. "Keynotes packed," she murmured, handing Isabella a encrypted tablet. "Oil lobbies buying seats front row. Watch your left flank." Their panel Green Frontiers, Alps to Autonomy was a masterclass in controlled combustion. Isabella opened with diplomatic grace, weaving policy bridges between nations. The Alpine grid isn't just energy, it's sovereignty. Valmont stands independent, Europe follows. Alexander followed with raw data artillery, efficiency curves spiking 40% over legacy fossil plants. ROI projections that turned skeptics' sneers to furrowed brows. Contracts were signed in gold ink under crystal chandeliers. 50 billion euros committed from German funds. Norwegian sovereign wealth, even a reluctant Gulf sovereign. Markets rebounded midday. Champagne flowed like victory. The cohort toasted in a private lounge, Olaf hoisting glasses, to the lovebirds who rewrote the board. But shadows clung stubborn as hoarfrost. That night, in their penthouse suite, overlooking the Clausen Pass, a glass-walled eagle's nest, perched above plunging valleys, Isabella paced the thick fur rugs, Marco's encrypted message burning a hole in her secure phone. Help me help you. Meet alone at Davos Priest. Truth about the hack. M. Alexander poured scotch neat at the wet bar, ice clinking like warning bells in the silence. He's bait, Isabella. Wounded pride makes for sloppy revenge. Delete it. He's Ladavia, she countered, voice edged with the old protocol training. Our biggest grid investor. One call from him kills funding streams. She tossed the phone onto the bed, crossing to the window where snow devils danced in the pass below. We need every ally. He set the glass down with deliberate care, closing the distance in 3 strides. His hands found her hips, pulling her back against his chest, lips brushing her temple. Breath warm against the chill seeping through triple panes. Trust us. The kiss deepened, a slow burn melting doubt to liquid fire. Silk whispered to the floor. His fingers traced the curve of her spine like mapping a new frontier. Sheets tangled as bodies rediscovered, rhythm weeks of tension uncoiling in gasps, and murmured vows. Dawn found them entwined, his breath feathering her neck. Davos is ours. Let ghosts stay buried. The storm hit at noon, literal and lethal. Winds howled at 80 knots off the peaks, blanketing the Clausen Pass in a whiteout fury that swallowed roads and runways alike. Power flickered in the Congress Center. Sessions cancelled, delegates trapped. Their chalet became an isolated jewel amid the blizzard chaos, a modernist fortress of steel and glass. Fire roaring in a massive stone hearth that bathed the room in golden light. Phones died one by one. Summit gridlock. Just them, mulled wine steaming on the coffee table. A charcuterie board half-eaten, and the world reduced to wind's savage symphony outside. Bliss fractured at midnight with a thunderous knock that rattled the oak door. Alexander surged up from the sofa shirtless, muscles taut, grabbing a poker from the hearth like a spear. Isabella clutched a throw blanket, heart hammering as he yanked the door open. Marco of Ladavia stood drenched on the threshold, Burberry coat shedding snow in clumps, face pale and haunted under the porch lanterns. Let me in. It's not what you think. Wind clawed at his back, howling promise of burial. Alexander barred the frame with one arm, a wall of coiled fury. Leave. Now. But Isabella's nod overruled protocols, ghost whispering through the storm. 5 minutes, Marco stumbled in, dripping pools on the slate floor, collapsing into an armchair by the fire. Steam rose from his clothes as he thrust a flash drive across the coffee table. Not me. My uncle, the old guard, hates your union. Paid the hackers. Proof. Server logs. Wire transfers to Belgrade cutouts. Ladavian intelligence proxies. Isabella snatched the drive, slotting it into her laptop. Data bloomed on stomps matching the yacht breach, IP chains leading to encrypted nodes in the Balkans. Undeniable. Why tell us? Alexander growled, fists balled at his sides, gray eyes arctic. Marco met Isabella's gaze across the flames, pane raw, an old flame flickering in the depths. I loved you first, Bella. Always will, in shadows. You deserve truth, not ruin. His hand brushed hers as he passed a secondary file, accidental, or deliberate. Nostalgic spark, faint as smoke. The air thickened to breaking. Alexander stormed to the balcony doors, yanking them open to let wind lash his bare torso, a punishing baptism. Isabella and Marco talked low by the hearth, past promises resurfacing, alliance fractures laid bare. Choose stability, he urged softly. Us was safe. Predictable, this. Gestured to Alexander's silhouette against the storm. Chaos. Door slammed shut behind Alexander's return, face thunderous snowflakes melting in his dark hair.
Choose
Again. Accusation hung heavier than the blizzard outside. Marco departed into the gale without another word, vanishing like a specter into white. The chalet suffocated in the aftermath. You let him in, Alexander spat, voice low and lethal, pacing like a caged panther. Doubt our foundation. After everything, he brought truth. Isabella fired back, rising to match him, emerald eyes blazing. Blind trust is just another cage, Alexander. I won't trade one master for another. Words wounded deeper than any blade first fracture in their reforged oath. They slept divided that night. He on the sofa, fire dimming to embers. She in the king bed, silence arctic between them. Dawn cleared the skies to diamond brilliance, but the rift lingered, a hairline crack threatening to spike. Davos limped back to life, contracts held by threads, panels reconvened. Marco's drive confirmed the sabotage Ladavia expelled from the venture amid diplomatic firestorms. Victory tasted bitter ash. Press snapped photos of the reunited couple disembarking their chopper. Smiles practiced but brittle. Valmont. Fault lines? Back in Valmont 2 weeks later, the palace summoned Isabella like a prodigal returned to judgment. The grand study with its tapestries of ancient treaties, and a fireplace large enough to roast a stag felt like a courtroom. Her father sat enthroned behind the massive oak desk, crown absent but authority absolute, cousin Lucian hovering at his shoulder like a raven in pinstripes. The grid falters, the king intoned, voice glacial. Poles dip. Lucian gains traction, reckless union endangers succession. Prove your worth, or Clause 17 activates. Separation public. Immediate. Lucian smirked, eyes gleaming with ambition. The people tire of fairy tales, cousin. They want stability. Isabella's retort died as her secure line buzzed Alexander from Petrov HQ in Zurich. Firewall rebuilds hold, but board fractures. Father pushes divestment. We need you here. Calls turned terse over days. Strategy clipped, affection rationed. Stolen visits, midnight flights to Montrevel for frantic nights. Gooden Bridge, the growing gulf. Whispers of doubt seeded by Markova. Was love ambition's mask? Then the explosion. First grid plant in Valmont's eastern pass erupted in a fireball that lit the night sky orange. Shockwave rattling village windows miles away. Headlines screamed Petrov peril. Royal dream goes up in flames. Accusations flew wild. Alexander's reckless past. Cost-cutting corners, even sabotage pinned back on Petrov enemies within. Isabella raced to the site at dawn, ash raining like black snow. Workers shell-shocked amid twisted steel. Accident or attack? She demanded a fire chief, voice hoarse. Undetermined, but accelerants detected. Parliament summoned her next day. Marble Hall packed with ministers, Lucian leading the charge. The princess testifies, he purred. Isabella stood at the podium, emerald brooch glinting like defiance. Sabotage, not fault. Logs prove external interference. Cousins' allies implicated in funding trails. Gasps rippled. Lucian paled, but the chamber divided, half roaring approval, half demanding separation. Alexander landed mid-session, striding the aisle uninvited tuxedo, traded for soot-streaked field gear. Petrov stands accountable. Full audit. Rebuild triple. His hand found hers on the podium. Public vow amid chaos. Cheers erupted, but Lucian's glare promised war. Fault lines cracked wider across their empire. Love's crystal oath shivered under mounting ice. Montrevel called a crisis summit in familiar snows. But as Isabella boarded the chopper, Alexander's text burned. Marco reached out again. Says he knows who lit the plant. Trust? The mountains loomed hungry. Their reforged bond teetered on precipice's edge. Chapter 3. Montreville summoned them back like a siren's call through the blizzarded spires, piercing the February sky. Snow deeper than memory. A fortress of stone and secrets now hosting the crisis summit that would make or break their fragile empire. Isabella touched down first on the private helipad, the chopper's blades whipping powder into frenzied veils. Her emerald velvet gown traded for tactical wool and boots caked in grid-site ash. The crystal brooch, their wedding thorn heart, glinted at her throat like a talisman of defiance. Alexander's jet followed minutes later, carving through the low clouds, his silhouette visible in the cockpit as he banked hard over the eastern ridge. Below, in the valley, the first wisps of dawn painted the peaks blood red, as if the Alps themselves bled for the battle ahead. The grand hall had transformed into a war room. Long oak tables laden with satellite maps, forensic laptops blinking hack traces, and crystal decanters sweating condensation beside half-empty coffee urns. Valmont royals clustered at one end, her father enthroned in habacked leather, crown absent but scepter-like pen-tapping judgments. Cousin Lucian, pacing shadows like a raven, scenting carrion. Petrov execs dominated the opposite flank, Sergei Petrov a bear in pinstripe fury, board members murmuring stock projections. EU mediators hovered neutral ground, Ilara scripting real-time briefs on her tablet, Olaf coordinating energy feeds. International press lurked in overflow rooms, live streams primed for global eyes. 30 nations watched, trillions hung in balance. Isabella took her seat beside an empty chair reserved for Alexander, her voice cutting the prelude murmurs like glacial ice. The grid explodes twice now. Hacks, accelerants, funding trails. This ends today. Truth or ruin? Gasps rippled as she projected Marco's flash drive data Belgrade servers, pulsing red Ladavian cutouts exposed. Lucian sneered from the wings. Convenient? Petrov scapegoats to save their skin. Sergei bellowed across the divide. Cut losses, divest the gritter, toy princess's folly, bleeds us dry. Her father nodded, grim alliance. Marriage dissolves under clause 17. Succession stabilizes, Luciana sumis, interim. The cousin stepped forward smirking, eyes gleaming triumph. Alexander burst through the double doors, then storm-worn but unbowed. Soot from Zurich rebuilds, streaking his cashmere coat, gray eyes locking on Isabella across the chaos like a lifeline in torrent. No. One word. Thunderous. He claimed his chair, hand claiming hers under the table, a grip iron valve. Petrov audits complete. Sabotage confirmed. Lucian's shell company wired the hackers 200,000 euros time-stamped yesterday. Gasps thundered, her father's face drained to ash. Proof bloomed on screens. Bank ledgers, burner emails, Lucian's signature digital ghost. Treason, the king whispered, rising slow as continental drift. Lucian bolted for the doors, security swarmed, cuffing him amid flashes and shouts. Sergei barked a laugh, grudging respect cracking his scowl. Boy fights like grandfather. Blood shows, but victory soured fast. Outside, avalanche sirens, wailed climax brewing, literal. Skies blackened to anvil fury, monitors flickering warnings, full pass closure. Evac imminent. Mediators panicked, execs scrambled. Isabella and Alexander slipped the fray, racing snow-choked paths to Montreville's chapel, their wedding sanctum. Candles eternal against stone walls. Kneeling before the altar where vows were first whispered, Isabella gripped his hands, emerald eyes fierce through tears. They'll separate us, force the clause, dismantle the grid. We expose everything. Live now. Alexander nodded, pulling encrypted sat phone. Ilara Riggs peak broadcast. Pieced summit chairlift to the top. Let mountains witness. Helicopters ferried summit crew against howling winds, Ilara micking callers. Olaf rigging gensets on the upper platform, cohort rallying as backup. As snow thickened to whiteout, they boarded the last chairlift, glass bubble ascending slow through the maelstrom, world shrinking to their entwined hands and pounding hearts. Wind rocked the gondola, ice-sheathed cables. Below, Montreville blurred to ghost. Peaks loomed judgment. Peak platform. A scaffold of steel and screens whipped by 90-knot gales. Mics shrieking feedback. cameras defiant. Global feeds live BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, beaming to billions. Isabella stepped first to podium, hair lashing wild, voice piercing storm. Valmont speaks. The Alpine grid rises not, despite sabotage, but because of it. Cousin Lucian arrested for treason. Ladavia rogue elements sanctioned. Petrov stands clean. Alexander flanked, unveiling final evidence. Plant accelerant matched Lucian's yacht logs. Bribes to arsonists exposed. We build empires that endure. Join us, or fall behind. Crowd below Via Valley screens gasped worldwide. Markets twitched live tickers green. Fathers watched feeds, her king's shock cracking to pride. Sergei's roar approval echoing Salon's speakers. Avalanche rumbled deep, a symbolic roar shaking earth. Snow plumes thundering harmless past the ridge. Then Alexander dropped to one knee amid the gale. Ring rising from pocket crystal clear, thorn-wrapped diamond forged from grid titanium. Wind clawed. Snow stung. Marry me true, he shouted over roar, eyes soul deep. Not alliance. Not strategy. Forever. Tears froze silver trails down her cheeks. Heart seized every fracture healed in that gaze. Yes, she cried, pulling him up. Kiss claimed defiant lips fierce against storm. Cameras capturing eternal vow. Avalanche crescendo peaked, then faded. Skies cracked blue promise. Truth tsunami crashed global. Lucian imprisoned for life. Ladavia expelled with reparations. Grid funded triple by rallied nations. Markets soared 15%. Thrones stabilized. Clause 17 shredded publicly. Wedding redux donned Montrevel spring roses, thrusting snow defiant, cohort dancing under aurora-lit arches. Fathers conceded, her king toasting true heir. Sergei clapping Alexander's back. Empire yours, son with her. Years blurred montage. Twins born under alpine peaks, boy with father's steel gaze. Girl mother's fire grid, powering half Europe. Love woven legend. Isabella curled Valmont, treaties her quill. Alexander greened Petrov dynasty. Layoffs reborn, storms ravaged seasons. They endured unyielding. Montrevel's peace witnessed final right. Their children skiing first runs hand in hand. Laughter echoing eternal snows. Crystal oath reforged in fire. Ice, blood stood unbreakable. Mountains bowed, silent sentinels. Hearts, eternal conquerors. Fade to powder falling, soft alps whispering. Love endures, always.